Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is Peter Lavelle, co-founder of The Gaggle, as well as host of RT's talk show, Crosstalk. Well, it looks like the Republican Party establishment can't wait to see the back of President Trump. We've already had the self-satisfied musings of the outgoing Attorney General, Bill Barr, who announced, sabotaging his boss, that he found no widespread fraud, who didn't feel that there was any need to appoint a special counsel to investigate the fraud, or even a special counsel to investigate the Biden family shenanigans, all basically undermining Trump's stances. And I'm not to mention the fact that he maintained his silence throughout the year about what he knew about the Biden investigation. So there was that. Then yesterday we had the House of Representatives overriding Trump's veto of an abysmal Defense Authorization Act, which had all sorts of conditions attached, namely preventing withdrawal of U.S. forces from Afghanistan or Germany or anywhere. So so you had the basically Democrats, Republicans, firmly on the side of keeping U.S. troops everywhere forever. And of course, we have the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, rushing his caucus to Washington after the holiday, just in order to override Trump's veto. And on top of that, we know that January the 6th is the big day when Congress will seat the electors. And McConnell has told his caucus that not one of them, not a single one of them, should vote to refuse to seat any of the electors. So in other words, he is absolutely determined not to allow Trump to have any shot at all at reversing the election. So this is the Republican Party establishment. The fatuousness of it, I mean, I understand why McConnell and the others don't like Trump, but the fatuousness of it is that they have any shot at winning elections, let alone, just even winning these two Senate races in Georgia. They have any shot without a figure like Trump at the helm, just shows their utter cluelessness. What's your take, Peter?
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, people say that, we live in such divided times and everything is polarized. No, there's bipartisanship always for the wrong things, okay? War, lack of good public health care. They're always bipartisanship for the worst things, okay? Defense spending. But you're right, and this is something that we've said since the establishment of the gaggle here, is that the Republican Party has no stomach for Donald Trump, the leadership, okay? The Washington swamp characters, okay? And I'm not surprised by any of this whatsoever. And we're going to see how it pans out. I mean, is Trump going to not only want a revenge match for the election that just passed, or or will his prime directive be to knock around the Republican Party, which of course the Democrats would love him to do that. So this is he's leaving the White House as he came in. He's leaving the White House as he was an occupant of the Oval Office. Nothing has changed whatsoever. There's an illusion out there, an illusion of Fox News. George, if we probably put our heads together, maybe a dozen max, maybe 10 cheerleaders come out for him, but that's it. That's simply just it. And the Republican Party, and Trump is at fault in many ways. He should have not, divided them and during 2016, and then eliminated them one after another. He should have kept going. This was a self-limiting revolution in many ways. He had the momentum, particularly, let's not forget, the first 2 years, he had the House, okay? And the Republican Party didn't do anything for him. I mean, The thing I wanted most, was infrastructure, because the knock-on effect for infrastructure would have guaranteed him re-election. Actually, in January of this year, the perception, I have to be very careful, the perception of the economy for most people was positive. So, he was to have the wind to his back. What was his biggest barrier? The Republican Party.
Right. No, I think
and Mitch McConnell, think about it, because you won't have to think long. Did McConnell ever do one thing for Trump? Because Trump did stuff for McConnell,
right.
SCOTUS, twice.
That's right. Well, that's exactly right. And in fact, I mean, it's
thrice.
Yeah, that's right. And in fact, our good friend Robert Barnes pointed out the other day that these judges and these justices that have all kind of voted against Trump in his election lawsuits, they're not Trump judges. Just because they were appointed by Trump, they were never Trump judges. They were McConnell judges. They all owed their job to McConnell. And therefore, it's not at all surprising that they've all, to a man and woman, have refused to help Trump out with his election lawsuits. But the stupidity of McConnell in thinking that the people in Georgia are going to be are thinking, well, what we really need to do, we really got to get out there and vote, because it's so important to keep Mitch McConnell in power as Senate Majority Leader. That is not how people vote. And that is certainly not how Trump's base votes. They don't think that. They couldn't care less whether McConnell is in charge in the Senate or not. And they're right not to care.
Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett. Okay, think of those three judges that were confirmed to the Supreme Court. They were in a queue. They were in a line. They knew it. They knew it for years. If a conservative opening is available, they're on the list. And I'm not talking about the Federalist list. I'm talking about Mitch McConnell's list, okay? And they knew it. So, all this stuff on CNN and MSNBC, they're going to overthrow the legitimate order because they're all Trump's appointees. Nonsense. And I never believed that for a second. Not for a second.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're part of a very small internal group. I mean, who are the next judges that could be conservatively appointed? They already know who they are. Because they're being vetted as we speak right now. The Democrats are doing that with their liberals as well. So thinking Trump had some kind of divine intervention and pluck them, it's nonsense. It doesn't work that way.
No.
It doesn't work that way.
Now,
if Biden gets an opening, if Biden gets an opening and he plucks Obama out, I mean, then that would be a different story. That would be a very different story. And apparently Obama, because he's so vain, he would like that now too, okay? But that's another video topic.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. The GOP, and the irony, the weirdness of all this, George, is that the GOP did really well in November.
Right.
And they don't understand it was because of Trump.
Exactly. Because that GOP agenda, which they've been running on in decades, which is tax cuts for the corporations, eliminating what they call entitlement reform, quote unquote.
Regulation.
In other words, people paid benefits. In other words, benefits that people have paid into all their lives. Those have to be cut. And of course, endless wars, endless amount for the military, and of course, the budget deficit. We have to worry about the deficit. Now, that is absolute poison. Republicans have been running on this since forever, and nobody is interested. They can invoke Ronald Reagan, the blessed Ronald Reagan, all they want, but nobody is buying. With Trump, they got a new package. He rethought the Republican program and came up with this populist economics. But as you say, he didn't pursue it with the vigor that he should have done. I mean, he had an opening in 2016. He shocked the system in 2016. Unfortunately, he sat back and allowed Ryan and McConnell to set the agenda. And that's why he ran into trouble.
Yep.
I mean, the interesting thing,
George, if you were to poll the people that voted for Donald Trump, What do you think if they were asked the following question? Would you like to have available to you a free community college, a free technical college, something, a skilled based education? I bet the majority of them would say yes. Okay.
Sure.
A very specific question, okay? Because higher education is a scam in America, okay? It's a scam, okay? And it's for the professional managerial class, okay? Because you have to get your credentials to be part of their private club. But most Trump supporters are not in that club, and they're not really particularly interested in it. They want a skill in this changing economy. Now, McConnell wouldn't understand that. Paul Ryan wouldn't understand that. Okay, because that's free. No, people pay taxes, so give them something that they can actually use. Healthcare. The majority of Trump supporters want more healthcare, better healthcare, and they don't care about the scare words. They care about their families, because if you're healthy, then you can actually work. If you're healthy, you can actually pay taxes. Okay, if you're healthy, you can have more children. Okay, that's how they think about it. They don't think it in terms of Venezuela. Okay, I mean, who the hell cares about Venezuela?
Absolutely.
This is what's wrong with the Republican Party. People at the top, as I've said over and over again, the libertarian stranglehold in the party will make it unelectable moving forward.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, and on a personal level, McConnell's strategy of doing nothing to help Trump on January the 6th, because we know now some members of the House, the Trumpians in the House, will protest the seating of the electors. Already several of them have said that they're going to do it. So far, we don't know whether any senator has agreed to do so. McConnell, as I said, he's prohibited any one of them from doing it.
And there is an incoming.
Yeah, he hasn't committed himself.
I think there's an incoming Republican senator
Tommy Tuberville. Yeah,
considering it.
He's considering, exactly. He's considering. I think Rand Paul has also said he's considering it, but none of them have made the commitment in the way that some of the House Republicans have made a commitment. Now, McConnell is obviously threatening them. You do this, and forget good, decent committee assignments and all the perks of the job. But if any Republican has serious presidential ambition, that means Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Marco Rubio, Rand Paul, they better get on with Trump. Even if Trump fails, they need to show the Republican base that they fought for Trump. I mean, you heard the chants in Georgia when he was there. They were chanting, "Fight for Trump." Just fight for Trump. It's a no-brainer. Even if he loses, you said, "Hey, look, I did what I could. I fought for him." But if you don't, if you sit on your hands, I think you can just simply kiss goodbye, any serious prospects for winning the party nomination in 2024 or 2028 or whenever.
Yeah, in 2008, under Gingrich, they had a postmortem, and it was really smart. They actually learned something about losing to Obama, and Trump intuitively understood it. I seriously doubt if he read it, but he read the electorate. And the way the GOP is acting right now is that they've learned nothing from 2020. They've learned nothing from the Trump presidency. And again, it's just part of this professional managerial class mentality that Trump is just a rube. He doesn't belong here. He's an accident of history. And I'm talking about how Republicans think, not Democrats, okay?
Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly right. They are under the impression that they're going to go back to the good old days of George W. Bush, Jeb Bush, Karl Rove, and the rest of them. Mitt Romney, John McCain. All that's going to come back. The Trump was an aberration. Something went wrong. All sorts of problems that arose in 2016. Who could have predicted it? But we're going to go back to the good old days. It's not going to happen. It's just there is just no way that can happen. I mean, because I think Republicans have figured out that the Mitch McConnell agenda is the road to permanent minority status. And if they don't even do the minimum now of fighting for Trump, of challenging basically a very dubious election, to say the least, if they don't even do that, then what use are they? Why would anyone want to vote for them?
Well, what we have right now is we have Schumer, Pelosi, and McConnell, and they have no idea what's going on in their own parties, okay? Because 2016, also in the November election, the results are clear for anyone that has open mind, have an open mind and open eyes, is that the Republican Party is a populist party now. It is, okay? And the Democratic Party is a progressive party right now. And it's the leaderships of the two major parties that won't recognize reality here. And what is happening in both parties, pressure is building up, okay? So we're going to have two civil wars going on simultaneously because, you know, Joe Biden will go out into the Rose Garden and bark at dogs, okay? As Kamala Harris and her circle engineer regime change, okay, within the White House, okay? And that's not going to satisfy anyone except for the people that are pulling the strings, okay? So there's so much disruption going on. It's so unstable in both parties, but you wouldn't know it from CNN, the New York Times, MSNBC. Everything is hunky-dory, okay? No, pressure is building up dramatically right now. And it's all because of Trump. Trump, again, a failed messenger, a very flawed messenger, but he put his finger on the pulse. He saw exactly where the country is going.
Right.
And because of the way this crazy election came about, he will decide the narrative.
That's right, because I think there are two things. I mean, there is the economic lockdowns, which are causing deep resentment here in the United States, but of course elsewhere. I mean, there is obviously real potential for a populist revolt. People are sick to death of lockdowns, a kind of permanent condition of helplessness and impoverishment and so on. So people are protesting about that. And then there's the election, and and what Trump has done, because he's a kind of a wrecking ball. He has highlighted the appalling flaws in the American electoral system. I mean, this has gone on for years. I mean, this didn't start in 2020, but this has gone on for years. I mean, there's been no reforms of the election system. I mean, despite the fact that there have been warnings over years that there are serious problems here, no one has done anything to address it. It's the easiest thing to do in the world, electoral fraud. And instead, we've had the mantra, well, there's no flaw.
Well,
no,
that is its place. Yeah, well, the reform is the fraud. Okay, I'm sorry to inform you that is the reform, okay, of the voting system. Okay, I mean, we've said it before. In looking at the how Texas's case in front of the Supreme Court, I mean, the easy conclusion that you can draw is that fraud is acceptable. I guess it's just the degree of fraud. That's the conclusion I drew from the Supreme Court's decision.
It also depends on who's mounting the challenge to the fraud. You have to wonder whether, again, if it's Trump who's mounting the challenge, then suddenly the courts are very reluctant to look into it. I can't believe that Obama mounted a challenge to fraud, the courts would have been reluctant to step in. I think that it just all depends on who the messenger is. And the courts just didn't want to do anything to help Trump. I mean, that's just basic. That was the view, and that was the message that the Supreme Court sent out. We're not going to do anything to help Trump. He's on his own.
Yeah, but don't you think also maybe just a different layer, a different way of phrasing what you said, is that it's across the board, the GOP leadership, the judiciary, they're all saying, well, I don't want to get involved.
But I think so.
Okay.
I think agreed. But I think the fact that it was Trump,
I don't want to get involved, and that is a illusion.
Right. You just at the same time you kind of wonder whether they would have had the same attitude had it been Obama who was mounting the challenge. I don't think so. I really, we had these things before where people start challenging signatures and so on. The courts are happy to get involved. Why are they suddenly so reluctant to get involved in challenging signatures? I mean, this is, this is a regular part of American electoral process. A party starts challenging the other party's signatures. The courts are happy to get involved. Why are they suddenly all, oh, no, we can't do it, can't get involved? Why? Why can't you do it? I mean, there are serious challenges to matching signatures. No, I think they didn't want to do anything to help Trump. I mean, I think that's, that's the corruption of the system.
But also, don't you think there's this naive belief that the last 4 years were an aberration, and we can just go right back to the last day of Obama, or say of Trump, and just say but I think that is so naive and so stupidly thought out. Yeah. That's impossible right now, because the possibilities of a more populist party became a reality. Now, it didn't work out very well, but it can happen. And this also applies to, the Bernie bros, some of whom I know, and they're very good people. They're educated, they're smart, and they're good faith actors. Okay, but they had a failed leader in Bernie. Bernie didn't have the fire in his stomach. Okay, so but he exits. Okay, but irrespective of what Trump does, there's going to be a Trump base. Irrespective of what Bernie does, there's going to be a Bernie base. Okay, and that's what the two parties don't want to open their eyes and understand.
Right. I agree with that. Well, we shall maintain a customary laser-like focus on developments in the United States, and whatever's going on, the gaggle will be there. Thank you very much, Peter. And remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.